Hey, what's up you guys? In today's video, I'm gonna teach you how to be an influencer. If you're new here and you just happen to click on this video, hello, my name is Meg. I have been creating content on the internet for 9 years almost. I started here on YouTube actually, and I have amassed a fortune. Just kidding. But I've done some work on the influencer side, so working with other brands and promoting their products. And then I've done stuff on my own side, so starting my own business and then eventually coming to see full circle moment and working with other athletes. So I have the experience from myself. I'll talk about how much money I made with some of those brand deals and my suggestions if you're someone who wants to get into creating content and building an online presence. And then I'll also give you my perspective on how we work with athletes and who we choose and why we choose those athletes to work with and influencers to work with, and you'll get the best of both worlds.
Chill it out, take it slow, then you rock out the show.
Yeah, so that's what this video is, but first, let's train. Hey you guys, I'm having 1 scoop of green apple pump and 1 scoop of unflavored creatine. Next week is our second Buff Chick birthday. The company has been alive. Buffy's been with us for 2 years. So we're doing our biggest sale of the year, 25% off everything.
25% off?
Is that it? 25% off? Yeah. Sounds unbelievable. That's why I had to confirm. Get some of my favorite products. Love the pump because there's no caffeine in this, so I love having it for my afternoon sessions. And then every day, I have my creatine. So get your products 25% off. Here's my top picks. Ready? Watermelon pump, creatine unflavored, fudge brownie, and then birthday cake. We're doing a birthday cake whey restock, and then we're introducing for the very first time birthday cake vegan protein. So for my plant-based people, we have fudge brownie vegan, birthday cake vegan, and our cinnamon swirl vegan. So that's a nice little sweet and vegan flavor for you guys who don't like the whey.
And then use this to blend it.
Oh yeah, and that's also good. We got a really big announcement coming on the Stronger by the Day side. New macro cycle is going to be announced next Friday. You're not ready. If you've ever thought about joining, wait. It's going to go on sale for Black Friday. It's going to be lit.
Any hints? Oh, Beyonce. That's a good hint. Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce.
Yeah, that's a hint. That's a
nice.
hint.
I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but man's keep rocking. Just too sharp with the prize, white girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch man, please use caution. Stop that.
Let's answer your questions that are on the influencer side, and I'm gonna try to do these somewhat rapid fire. So first question is, how can you start being an influencer when you have no followers? Relatively simple. I would say start creating content. Obviously you need content in order to grow a following, but you want to consistently help, or I guess you could entertain the people that you actually know. So I'm in the fitness space, and one thing that's needed in the fitness space is some education and helping people. People need help to try and break down the information so that they can live a healthier life. So you want to solve real problems that real people have, so you can start with the people in your life. Start solving their fitness problems, start solving their health and nutrition problems. Obviously I'm going to come to it from the perspective of a fitness person, but how can you solve people's problems with anything that you're interested in? Also, you need to start doing real things in real life. So if you're in fitness, you can do things like powerlifting competitions, bodybuilding shows. You want to do things that are real. It's common to want to just sit behind your computer and not interact with any people, but you need to like actually do the stuff you're talking about. Also, that goes with personal training. Like start training people if you want to be a fitness influencer. Get involved in whatever you're interested in real life, share that journey and share the experience of what you're doing, and you'll start to discover how you can help people who are also interested in that as well. How do you create content consistently? Do you hire someone to help? So obviously now, yeah, I have a full-fledged marketing team, but I didn't at first until I was like actually making money, or I started hiring photographers for opportunities that could make me money. Really, I would suggest make it a part of your everyday life and workflow. There are some people who suggest batching your content, so spending a day or two just making content. I don't like doing that. I feel like you don't get an opportunity to see how the content performs real time so that the next one you make, it can be better. My strategy is just, it's a part of my daily routine. It's something that I post every day and I create every day. Also, to add on that, I think now low quality content is not a bad thing anymore. There was a time where we used to try to make everything look like a movie on YouTube and everything had to be like really high quality for people to engage with it. That is not the case anymore. We've actually been consistently trying to get lower quality. Instead of shooting on a nice camera, sometimes we'll shoot on our iPhone because people understand that influencing is a job and it's a business. Sometimes that content doesn't perform well anymore. Is it harder for people starting out now? Is the market too saturated, or are there just too many people doing this? So I've had several questions on this specifically. First of all, I've never not heard that phrase, the market is saturated. So if the market is always saturated, then it's literally no difference. Anyone can go viral today, which wasn't the case when I first started. You don't have to be big in order to have a piece of content that blows you up. And there are far fewer barriers to entry. If you have an iPhone, if you have a good idea, that's really all you need to blow up and get huge. I will say, as far as saturation and like so many people doing it, the things that used to work back in the day, kind of like the high quality, low quality issue, they don't work anymore. Me, I'm still figuring out what is next for me and my team. How can I still stay up to date? How can I still stay relevant, honestly? We're kind of even. I have more resources and I have more experience at my disposal, but I think you blowing up is just as likely as me blowing up if both of us are creating content every day. Next question, how thick does your skin have to be to ignore the trolls? Semi-thick, mine wasn't thick, it's much better now, but basically my biggest advice with this is like, don't be a shitty person and actually aim to help people to solve their problems. One thing that's helped me is that I have my mission, vision, values for who I am and what I want to do on social media very clear. So anytime someone disagrees with something I'm doing, it helps me to come back to the mission, vision, values and understand that I'm trying to help people. I can always try and learn more if they disagree with something that I've said. You also get better at being more sensitive so that you avoid offending people. Now, I don't say that to suggest tiptoeing around people's feelings at all times. But there are times when I see influencers discussing something or showing something, and sometimes it can be tone deaf. I do realize that some of the videos in this series, we've been talking about money, we've been talking about how much the gym costs, and I do need to look at that video and think about how is someone going to view this video of my $100,000 gym. Of course, it's for my business, so it's a little bit different, but how is someone who can't afford a gym membership going to view this video? So I do try to always look at it from the lens of all the people who could be consuming my content, which I think helps me avoid sounding like a big jerk off. Not all the time, but sometimes. What was the most effective thing you did to grow your brand? I would say collaborations, consistency, and a defined angle. When did you realize that you can be a successful influencer? A big moment for me was when I realized that my money that I was making from selling merch or doing coaching or influencer deals was replacing my full-time income. That's sort of when I realized, oh, this can be something big. It took a while to where I was both working my normal day-to-day job, what I did before this, and then also creating content and building my businesses that were where my content was marketing for them. At this time, I think I had like 36,000 YouTube subscribers, so not a low subscriber count, but definitely much lower than it is. And to be able to sell 600 t-shirts, that was like the first thing I ever offered. That was a pretty big deal for me, and that was a big, oh wow, I do have some influence and people actually like me. And they're real. They're like exchanging money for a good that has something to do with me. Was I trying to gain a following with my posts, or did it just happen? 100% I was definitely trying. I don't think it happens on accident. I think on TikTok now, or in some algorithms, you can have virality without really trying. But in order to gain a following or a community that really connects with who you are and they believe in you and they want to be a part of what you're doing, it has to be very intentional. So it was always intentional for me. That was always the goal for me. Is there a specific video that started it all in regards to your followers growing? And yes, it was Road to 300. I posted Road to 300 on YouTube, and then I shared on Reddit my journey to getting a 300-pound squat. So this goes back to how do I get started? It's like you're on some sort of journey. Might not be fitness, but in my case, it is fitness. I was on a journey to get strong. And so I shared that journey of getting strong on YouTube, and then I provided more context on Reddit on, I think it was powerlifting, the r/powerlifting, and people were interested in my strength. They were interested in the programming, so I was sharing all that information there. What is my biggest cringe moment looking back? Okay, so this was a situation that I just look back and it just seems so simple to me as to how I could have handled it. Anyway, I made a t-shirt design that some people found offensive. It used the word savage and it said feminine savage. So I dug my heels when people told me that that was offensive. And I could have just listened to people in the moment. I could have just listened and took what they were saying, and instead of trying to argue as to why I felt like I did no wrong in a situation, I should have just listened to them. Like, really, that's it. Listen to them and said, okay, I hear you. But I didn't. Instead of people telling me, hey, this was offensive, I tried to argue with them. So like, well, you shouldn't be offended because of this. So that was my biggest cringe moment, because I feel like I could have just learned from that sitch, and I was digging my heels because I had some money tied into the situation, because I made freaking probably 100 t-shirts that said this thing that someone was telling me was really offensive. So I was trying to talk them out of being offended, and that was just stupid. So I definitely cringe looking back at that. When people tell you that something you did upsets them, probably not a good idea to try to talk them out of being upset. You're not gonna talk them out of being upset. Anyway, so yeah, that's my biggest cringe moment. Next question, can you be an invisible influencer? And a couple people had questions around this, like, I don't want to be an influencer, but I have a passion for like creating content. So let me give you my perspective. I think especially now, you can totally be an invisible influencer. You don't need a cameraman. You don't need to like show your face at all, especially now. So there are a couple of examples. Someone in the fitness industry, his name is Eugene, the account is Physique. He has like 700,000 followers on Instagram, and he just now recently started sharing his face, but really it's just drawings. So instructional drawings. There are tons of Twitch streamers who do this, tons of people who never show their face. Like, there are ways to be creative. I think also one thing, if you're not interested in like growing your own socials, you can get involved with other brands, and if you have an interest in doing this, create something for us and I'll hire you if it's great. You can make user-generated content where you're just kind of you're engaging with products and creating content about the products that features the products for brands, and brands will purchase that from you. So if you really like social media creation, but you yourself don't want to be like the star of the show, there are options there. The next category on the influencer side that I had a bunch of questions on is about body type and specifically being a fitness influencer. Would you say you need to be or appear really fit before becoming an influencer? Well, first of all, if you have in your personal goals to become very fit, whatever that means for you, then I would start sharing content now about that journey, and people will appreciate that you shared what you learned, any roadblocks, and that journey as it is. Regardless of how you look, there is someone out there who is going to relate with how you look, or they're going to appreciate you for just showing up as you are. This is part of the reason why I don't ever Photoshop my body or remove things that could be seen as imperfection, because it's just like, other people have that too. It's gonna work in your best interest to be relatable. And the best way to be relatable is just be yourself. Try not to use too many smoke and mirrors. Although people are successful by doing that, what's worked for me is always just showing up as I am, and however my body is that day is what you get. I don't need to Photoshop it. My opinion, I would say no, you don't need to be a certain body type in order to be a fitness influencer. Maybe some body types will mean you're more successful or less successful. We probably can accept that as a truth, but there are super fit people who are not successful influencers. And then there are people who lack a six-pack and a really lean body type, and they're insanely successful fitness influencers. The next question was pretty interesting. How do you maintain a healthy body image when having a fit-looking body is part of your job? The answer to this question comes back to my mission, vision, values. Nowhere in my mission, vision, values does it say you need to be a certain body weight and you need to be a certain body fat percentage. I'm a human and I struggle with body image just as everyone else does, but I always come back to the messages that are in my mission and are in my values, and it's like, your body's the least interesting thing about you. How it looks is not really that important in the grand scheme of things. I'm more interested in strength. I'm more interested in what my body can do. So I always come back to those things that drive me forward. Hey, thanks for sending me that thing.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday. I dropped that one.
Oh, so
they dropped it in the mini butts.
Thank you. She knew immediately that I was lying. She was like,
I did not know you were lying. I was like, what did I do? I thought you were gonna. I was like, oh no, I did it again.
Happy birthday.
Thank you guys.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lauren. Happy birthday to you.
All right, post edit.
Lauren, you missed a couple candles.
Wait, were you singing?
No, not this close to the camera. Oh.
the next section is on being an influencer and working with brands. So this is all I know from basically the influencer side. So my experience working with brands. Someone asked, is there a minimum amount of followers you need before brands want to work with you? I would say I didn't start getting reached out for serious inquiries until maybe about like 20K on YouTube. There are micro influencers and you can be something like a brand ambassador, but I would just caution you against getting involved in like any kind of MLM type scammy situations. Not all of them are that, but you have to think, oh, if I'm promoting for this company and I have no audience, then who am I promoting to? And what am I selling? And do I really believe in this? So just be aware of that. However, when you look at really, really large influencer versus smaller influencer, the biggest thing that matters is their conversion. So you could be a huge influencer that doesn't really connect with their audience, and maybe based on the type of content you make, people who are watching you don't necessarily watch you because they're trusting your opinion on purchasing decisions to make. With that being said, I've seen people who have thousands and thousands of followers, but they convert nothing. And I know from talking to my friends that people have been really successful converting their audiences based on the type of content that they make. I think Christian Guzman recently shared, he works with an influencer who has maybe like 20,000, 30,000 YouTube subscribers, and she converts hundreds of thousands of dollars because she makes really detailed and in-depth posts about athlete launches and helps people make the right purchasing decisions. So people go to her and use her code, so she probably gets a nice chunk of affiliate commission, even though her audience isn't massive. The next question is, should I approach a brand or wait for them to approach me? I'd suggest to start a relationship with them without asking for anything in return, especially if you're on the smaller end of influencers. That way they know you're actually interested in their products and you're actually interested in working with them, even though they're not paying you yet. Some people will call it like a free promo, which I know really huge influencers will avoid doing, but if there's a brand you're passionate about and you wanna work with them, then I would go that route. Really, one of the best pieces of advice that I got early on in my career as far as working with brands was that I should really share things that I really enjoy using and get used to talking about why I like those products. So I feel like that is a good exercise, even if you're not working with anyone yet, to start sharing things that you love. And even now on Instagram, I'll share TV shows that I'm watching that I love. I'll talk about them. I feel like that's a really good habit, to be able to describe things that you like, or even describe things that you don't like and why you wouldn't recommend them. Get in that habit of like talking to the camera if you're on your like influencer journey. Someone asked, what are contracts like? Do I negotiate them with brands? They're generally relatively straightforward. The only things that can be not so straightforward are use of likeness. And that's not something I think you really need to worry about until you get really big. I usually have someone else negotiate on my behalf so that I'm somewhat removed, so that I can focus on my relationship with the brand and the products and doing my job of like marketing those products if that's what I'm doing for them. And that way I don't have to like ask for more money directly with the brand itself. I keep those conversations separate so I can focus on my job, and I give someone else a cut of what they pay me in order to negotiate a fair or a profitable rate, because it's gonna cost me some time and cost me some energy and resources to create the content that they want or that they're paying me for. With that being said, I no longer take on outside influencer deals. I would consider if the right opportunity came up and something just seemed really natural, but right now I'm focused on my own brands. The last question in this section are, how do brands pay influencers versus ambassadors? Do they do a per posting, a type of post, a one-time payment? So there are a couple different ways to work this out. You can get paid a monthly salary, so recurring every month you get paid the same amount in order to consistently promote with the brand. Usually that includes like in that month you have a certain amount of posts that you need to make that month, or you could get paid just commission. Some people discover that a commission-based structure is more profitable for them or more worth it for them than a monthly salary, because they can get paid more on commission because their conversion is really high. Or you can get a salary plus commission. That's also something that you can do. But a lot of times I've preferred to work with brands when they pay me per post, or even better yet, per campaign. So they're working on a campaign, they have a distinct message, and I'm helping them amplify that message with my audience and working with them on a set amount of posts over a set amount of time. I know a lot of people want to know like how much money can you really make working with a brand, and I will tell you my best brand deal that I ever got was with a company that I won't say their name, but it was an RTD drink, and they paid me for one campaign $50,000. $50,000! Even I was like, oh damn! So I know that I had 2 brand deals from that company that were around that range in separate times, separate years. And then I had another company pay me something similar. Again, those were negotiated with a third party that wasn't myself. And I think that played a big role in getting that. But hopefully that gives you an idea as to what's possible, what you can make. Now, some people might hear that number and think, holy shit, you made $50K for just like 6 posts, I think it was, maybe a little bit more. 6 posts for $50K, and that sounds so ridiculous. But you have to think, the most important thing to me and the most valuable thing that I have is my audience. And hopefully you guys know that I don't take your attention lightly, and I want to create things that hold your attention. I only want to promote things on my channel that I think you're gonna enjoy and benefit from. So in those scenarios, I definitely felt like the products that I was endorsing were in line with what I personally loved and what I would want to share with my audience. But also that $50K is like, at the time, it is a short amount of work where I'm spending making those 6 posts in exchange for that $50,000. But I spent like 8 years building my following and creating content for no money in order to get up to bigger brand deals like that. You know, it's kind of something like, the best piece of advice is to like start like 10 years ago. But obviously we can't do that. So you start creating content because you like to create it and you know that it's gonna be a long haul. And the only way to make the long haul possible is to really enjoy creating. So some people hear how much influencers get paid and they're just like, holy shit, that's ridiculous. And sometimes it is, and sometimes they don't convert, which is bad for the brand, which I'll get on the brand side, like my opinion from the budget side when we're working with influencers. But you do have to consider that like their audience is gonna be the most important thing to them. And there is a price, obviously, for them allowing you to use their audience. That was never something that I took lightly, and I was very careful about not always promoting stuff.
I think there's also like a thing too where it's like, why would a company pay millions of dollars for a commercial that nobody's gonna watch versus $1 million to a creator where they know that it's gonna get engaged with and actually be seen?
Yeah, like Jake Paul could make anything and people would buy it. Even better, Mr. Beast could do anything and he would do it. But like, how long did Mr. Beast create content in order to get to that point? Like, he was created content when he was like, what, 13? So he's got 10 years in and he's only 23. So I mean, 10 years into your career is a pretty significant amount of time to be working on something like a singular project, which is the content that he's making. So I think sometimes people see how much influencers are getting paid. You only discover an influencer when they're at some point successful, and you don't see all the time that they spend at first glance without making any money, sometimes losing money on certain projects. And yeah, that's a little highlight of how much, like, the most I've been paid for a singular brand deal was that much. Obviously now I don't do influencer deals anymore because my companies are more successful than my influencing career ever was. Okay, next I want to answer some of these how to be a fitness influencer questions from the perspective of a brand owner and someone who works with athletes or influencers. Our most asked question is, how do I become a Buff Chick sponsored athlete? So right now we approach and select people that we feel fits with our brand, but we are rolling out an affiliate or an ambassador program. More to come on exactly what that will be called and exactly what that will be. But if you've ever been interested, then just keep an eye out on our Buff Chick Instagram, and we will be rolling out opportunities for people to apply in 2023. So keep an eye out for that. People always ask us. Qualities that we search for when choosing athletes are first and foremost a success in athletics. It is important for us to work with female athletes and support them on the financial side, and we want to work with people who are doing important things in the communities that we're passionate about. So that could be powerlifting, bodybuilding, weightlifting sports, and we're not only married to those like strength sports in the fitness industry, we're happy to explore other avenues in sports in the future. But right now, that's where we're focused on. Another thing that's important as far as qualities that we look for are, I want someone who connects with their audience, someone who speaks to their audience directly. So one thing that we've really been looking at are people who look at their front-facing camera and talk to their camera. They're sharing themselves, they're sharing their perspectives, and they're connecting with the people that they want to connect to. Next question is, will you only pick people to be athletes or influencers who have a huge following? And the answer to that is no. If you check out our athletes who are on the team right now, not all of them have a really large following at all. Buff Chick is a really specific brand with a very specific client avatar. Like, the people who we're trying to talk to are women who are interested in getting really fucking strong, and they're also interested in maybe trying out some supplements. That is a specific type of person. When I'm looking at athletes who can connect with the brand, it's kind of like, how do they fit in with our mission, vision, values, and do those align? Are they also interested in helping women get super strong? Are they also interested in, are they a woman getting really strong? Can they connect and inspire people who we're trying to reach out to and help them along their strength journeys? That alignment is going to be way more important than a huge follower count. Jake Paul can sell anything, but Buff Chick supplements are something that, like, I don't think he could sell that very well. There are other people who are better and have much smaller fractions of a following that will probably get more conversions, maybe. This is an interesting question and not really something that we've had to deal with. How do you deal with one of your athletes doing something shady? We haven't had an experience like that. And not that this is shady, but I have thought about what's gonna happen if someone gets really political, if their stance on issues is really divisive. What do I do in that situation? Because I want to empower people to be able to speak their minds, but there comes a time when, there has to be that alignment. And I will always try to come back to the mission, vision, values and decide whether or not what they're saying and whether or not how their content might be shifting. Because right now, you know, people speak their minds, but it's not big, huge chunk of their content is going to be around strength and fitness, right? And that's kind of why we work with people, because they're focused on that area. Whereas when you get into other conversations, and if that becomes most of your content, then that's kind of where you need to reevaluate whether or not you're fully aligned. I would always try to come back to the mission, vision, values and look at what they're saying and try to understand if what they're saying is still aligned with what we believe as a company and what we're trying to do as a brand. You know, it's not the end of the world if you do decide that you're not fully aligned. That just means that they're stepping into who they want to be, and we are hopefully on our path that we're doing. So yeah, we haven't really had to deal with something like this. We've also discussed like, oh, what if one of our athletes started an OF? And that is a question that I think about sometimes, because that has become something that lots of influencers are doing now, and I'm just like, I don't know what I would do in that situation, because if I don't pay my athletes a full-time salary, then they need to make money elsewhere. And obviously I want to pay everyone fairly, at least I try to, or at least I think I do, but you know, they could probably make more money on OF. So I've always come back to that question and like truly don't know what I would do in that situation. It's something that I'm just going to have to continue to define the trajectory of where I want the company to go and decide what does it mean when someone's exploring something else that may not fit exactly what we're trying to do, which is completely in their rights to do. Body autonomy over everything, but how does it fit with everything else that we're talking about? So yeah, I don't really have an answer for you on that one. I'm still figuring out a lot of these things, and I'm sure the brands, if you're working with brands, I'm sure the brands aren't exactly sure how they would react in some of these situations. Or maybe they have all standard operating procedures should one of their athletes begin an OF. I don't know. Someone asks, what type of content do you need to post for brands to want to work with you? And I'd say just content that connects, and get really good at that piece where you're talking about things that you truly enjoy, even for no money. Like talking about things that you like, and people know that they can click on your stories or click on your page and learn something new, even if it's learn something about a product that's going to be good or a product that's going to be poo-poo that they shouldn't buy. Last question on here is, do you look for certain physical traits for athletes, or is it always strength and performance based? Strength and performance for us is always going to be above aesthetics. That doesn't mean that we only look at performance and only aim to get like the top people. We really do just try to come to people who are performing and doing cool things in their communities, but also do they kind of fit what we're trying to get at with our messaging. And that is all. That's the story. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one. Let me know if you have any further comments. Was this a really long one? Probably. But hopefully you learned something new, and hopefully this helps any people interested in becoming a fitness influencer. Oh, plug Buck Chick Supplements. My brand is having its second birthday. It's because we started anyway, we're having our third birthday. Okay, let me just plug my brand, Buck Chick Supplements, you guys. We're having our second birthday sale this Monday and Tuesday. So the Monday and Tuesday before Black Friday, and then we'll also do a little something on Black Friday, but bigger sale on Monday and Tuesday. Come check it out. Okay, see you guys in the next one. Bye.